Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome. This is a hot topic today. We're going to talk about systems. But
Very hot topic.
It's important to know, right? So
yes.
I'm excited that Whitney and I are co-hosting this because I feel like the more voices there are, the easier it is to grasp it, because maybe the way I explain something isn't the same way Whitney would, or you track more with how one of us explains it more than others. So this will be fun. And so I would love to know what systems mean to you guys. Do you guys have anything in mind when you hear the word system, or in Plexus when we talk about systems? You can unmute.
To me, it's just like an organized plan, just something you follow, a procedure that gets you your desired result.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good definition. So I don't want anyone to come away from this call feeling really overwhelmed. I want you to feel like we've covered all the basics. Because if you guys are working this business and have signed people, let me see if I can make sure that you mute. So there's someone not muted and I'm not sure how to mute her. So I just want to encourage everyone to make sure that you can, well, there we go. You have a system if you're working this business at whatever level. So we're going to chat about what the systems are, and maybe for you, you're going to evaluate it in terms of what you're already doing. And sometimes it's one tiny little wrinkle or tweak that you're like, oh, I've never thought about doing that. And it can make the biggest difference, because, the difference between someone that's skilled and successful and someone that's highly skilled and successful is like a 1% tweak. So sometimes that's all we need to do to get better at what we do, right? So I would just encourage you to be evaluating, like, what is your system? What is your system for follow-up? What is your system for getting someone started? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And you may not even be aware that you have one. So I think that's why it's important to kind of go through things. And if your system is more than what can fit on one page, it's probably too complex. So we're going to keep it super basic, super simple, but we're going to talk about all the things. Hopefully all of you. Yeah, you want to say something?
Can I just add too that if you have a system that's already working well for you, please disregard what we're about to tell you, because if what you're doing is working well, then don't even take a look at anything else. Okay, so this is just to give you some suggestions about how to simply apply to the most important areas if you don't already have a system for that area that works well for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I think everything seems more overwhelming. I'm assuming everyone that's on this call has signed people before. So, but sometimes it's like before you actually start something, like if we're just talking about this in theory and you're a brand new ambassador, you've never signed up one person, then you might be thinking, oh my word, I can't do this. But probably most of you or all of you have signed up people, you have teams rolling and things like that. So this should not feel overwhelming. It should just be another layer of things to consider, or just us talking and verbalizing. It's like, oh yeah, I already do that. So I don't want anyone feeling overwhelmed by the things that we're going to talk about. So just be aware of that. And I also think that the more aware we are and the more that we kind of get things out in the open, you can't unhear things. And so once you're like, oh, that's the system, that makes so much sense. So hopefully all of you printed the worksheets that were uploaded to the team page last night. They're just basic PDFs, and I think it's good to just have it in hand. That way you can kind of make sure that you have everything. So we're going to be referencing these as we chat, so do not feel like you have to take notes on all of this. You can print them off, which is awesome. I don't know that we're going to screen share a whole bunch, but these are the sheets that we're going to be referencing. So the first one we're going to talk about is the ambassador onboarding. So onboarding is like a fancy word for helping someone get started. Sometimes the network marketing lingo sounds so sophisticated and scary, but it just means helping your person get started. And even recruiting and enrolling, those words are just fancy words for similar thing. Recruiting is getting someone on your team. Enrolling them is like actually walking them through the process of getting started on their products. and their business. And so hopefully all of you gleaned from Super Saturday that the basic kind of overarching theme in terms of a system is send, share, invite, right? Hopefully all of us know that. So that's the crux of this business. If you're not sending, sharing, and inviting, that's the first place to start. And I encourage people to do like 3 asks a day, 3 to 5 asks. If if you haven't been working this business very long, that's a good place to start. If you have been working this business for a while, or you're in a period of time where you're feeling like you really need to up your productivity level or recruit a new team. There's been seasons in my business where I've messaged upwards of 50 people every day. I mean, not for, super massive long periods of time, but just to like get a lot of people contacted in a short period of time. So I'm just saying, that send, share, invite system can be as small and baby steps as you want, or as big as you want, depending on what your goals are. I will say that I have avoided and procrastinated on phone calls for a long time. And once I started doing them, I have seen the value and why they're so important. And that's one of the first points on this first page is phone enrollments lead to a smoother process, no mistakes, because you're walking your person through it. You're going to overcome some objections that they have right off the bat. You're able to provide that extra layer of customer service. And my favorite part is that you get the opportunity to invite them to share, or at least ask what their thoughts are about it. So I started making myself share with people when I'm on the phone with them. So as soon as they're like, hey, I would like to know more about it, at that point, I just say, hey, well, I have a couple minutes. Do you have time to chat on the phone real quick? And typically, if I get them on the phone, I can get them enrolled in that same conversation. And I can also find out what their pain points are. If we're not leaning into what people's pain points are, we're probably not going to retain them. And I found that when you're on a phone with someone, or you're at the coffee shop knee to knee, you're able to hear a lot more of what's going on than just like a text message back and forth. So that's something that I've found, and I feel like it's really, really helpful in helping them share, because you're able to say, hey, what are your thoughts about sharing? Have you thought of anyone this could help? If they don't say anything, let them talk and just listen. And at that point, sometimes they have some objections and you can address them. And sometimes they'll be like, no, I would love to share. What should I do first? Right? So, we're going to be, so that's the next point, is invite to share during enrollment. So I'm going to chat really quick. Let's pretend like people do want to share. At that point, you will just walk them through some basic steps. I do not give them this whole list at first. You basically give them one thing to do, and then when they do that thing, then you'll give them the next thing to do. So typically, if they're open to sharing, I just say, well, hey, would you be open to make a little post on Facebook if I sent you what to say? And I think that's the key, is not expecting them to know what to say, because some people like literally won't unless you give them what to say. And I found that I have a lot higher success rate when I just send them like literally write it out and send it to them and say, okay, now put this with a picture and tag me in it. And then I help them work that post. So posting on social media, in my opinion, is the very first step. And then helping them work that post, so that even if that means that you're contacting the people that have commented, like, hey, thank you so much for supporting Hannah's post. That was so sweet of you. Have you ever tried Plexus before? I have done that for people, especially if they're not overly engaged or they don't respond back to me. I follow up with their people. And if the person wants to get started, then obviously I would sign them up under that person. And then the second thing is making their list of 20. What is it? Best and blessed. The people that you feel like would, be benefiting from the products, and then people that would benefit from the business. Encourage them to make a list of those people, screenshot them to you when they're ready or when they're done, right? And then help them message those people. And typically I offer to host a little personalized event, because I feel like it's easier for them to invite them to something than for them to just reach out randomly. So if they are able to say, hey, I'm doing this little event, do you mind if I send you an invite? It's about the supplements that I just started using. And so I found that that's really, most people are like, sure, you can add me. and it helps them get yeses. And the more you get yeses, the more likely you are to continue to get yeses. So, and obviously in-person events are super awesome also. So if your person is local to you and you're able to host a little in-person event, I would say do both, because not every single person is able to come to that in-person event, but they can come to the online one, right? And I typically try to act with urgency. So as soon as someone is open to me hosting a little bit event for them, I'm like, okay, does Tuesday or Thursday work better for you? Or hey, does tonight work? There's some people hosting events tonight because it's almost the end of the month. So there's no reason why that cannot work. And I also tell them, hey, send out 20 invites. And if you get, between 7 and 15 people to say yes, then that's a win. That's typically what I say. And then you'll be teaching them how to send, share, invite by working with them. And if you're able to meet up with them at a coffee shop and just sit with them and help them send out messages and realize they're not going to die sending out messages, it's a lot simpler than they think. It's not like this is super complex, right? And so they'll be like, oh, that's so easy. I can do this, right? It's just a matter of sitting and doing it. And then number 7 is talking about introducing three-way messaging. And I think this goes back to the whole hosting a little personal event. It's all about third-party validation and social proof. So when people see that, it's not just their friend talking about how these products are, they're hopeful that they'll help them, but it's like someone else coming in and sharing their story. And the same idea goes for three-way messages. So as soon as your people have someone that's like, hey, well, I would like to know more about it, then you say, hey, well, put them in a little three-way message with me and I'll help you share with them. You don't have to feel like you need all the answers. So, and then I typically like to make sure that they're in whatever event that I'm hosting for the team, so that they can see like they're not alone. There's a lot of other people sharing and inviting people to something. And so this is kind of the rinse and repeat method share for helping people start to share. It's not complex, but it starts with the ask. I think sometimes we think, oh, yay, we got our third person signed up for the month and you're in our AirPods. Yay, go us. But that's like the tip of the iceberg. That's like step 1 of 4. We need to be asking. I think that honestly, the reason why more people do not go silver is because they're simply not asked, or they're not asked right away. And so the quicker people go silver, and this is something I also share, is people need to know about the perks. So if they do not know about the, hey, if you help 3 people in your first 14 days, you'll get a $422 bonus. If you do it in your first 30 days, you'll get $322. And so when I'm talking to people on the phone before you go, I'll say, hey, really quick, I always like to let every ambassador know about this, because they didn't have this when I was starting. And then I'll tell them, like, if you think of, your mom, your BFF, your hubby, a couple people that want to do this with you, and just grab a couple of accountability partners, you'll more than pay for your products. So I just like to let everyone know about that. Is that something that you'd like to do? So I think just making yourself ask those questions. Do any of you feel, or have any of you felt funny about talking about the sharing aspect? Anyone? Just me? Oh, maybe it's just me. Okay,
my hand.
I'm not alone. All right, so I just started to make myself talk about it, and maybe it was Brooke that was sharing. It's not because you think Grandma Joe is going to actually share, but it's giving you the opportunity to talk to them about it so that you get better at talking with people. Because the more you make yourself ask the question, the less it's going to feel weird and the more confident you're going to come across, because this is the 25th time I've asked someone to do this, right? So even if you're like, I don't think they'll overshare, make yourself ask those questions, because you never know, for one. And for two, it'll give you the practice that you need to just get muscle memory down, right? And offering that. Okay.
Can I also add in right there real quick, Megan, is I think it's so important that we come up, like spend some time on coming up with some verbiage that feels comfortable to you. Like, we all have different color personalities, things like that. But I think if we can use your sponsor for help if you need to, but tell her, you know what, this is so uncomfortable to me. Will you help me come up with a base message that I can feel comfortable sending, or verbiage I can use on the phone when I'm signing someone up to invite them, because there's so many different words are so powerful. And when we just tweak a few words, we can make it feel genuine to us to a way that it's more comfortable. So I just think that that's an important thought too.
Mm-hmm. So what I just shared with you is what I say to people, but you may have something that is a lot more authentic to you, your heart. Like, you want to be speaking from your heart of what you feel, what you think, and being completely honest. If I've learned anything from Brooke's training and coaching, is like, speak from your heart, trust your own intuition, and whatever you feel that you feel like needs to be communicated, share that. Because you can't, if you're coming from a heart and a place of kindness and love, it's going to come off that way also. So I think trusting yourself in light of what do you feel like would be the way to present that to someone. What do you wish you would have been presented with when you started? There was one other thought I was thinking. Maybe it'll come back to me. But Whitney was going to share a little bit about if someone isn't ready to share, what's the system for them?
All right. So just for an ambassador that's, not ready to share yet, and we want to make sure we emphasize that yet, because how often have we seen that as people experience their own testimonials, then they realize that this is a gift and they start thinking of more and more people that could benefit from them. But for now, we just love on them, and we treat them well, and we want to give them the best experience possible. So first step is to add them to your team page. Now, I know depending on which Joel team you're on, there may be different page options. It's very important that you only add them to one page at a time, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more. But typically, if they're not interested in the business side, then you want to have them on that team page that offers like product support information and testimonials. And that's so important that they have that. And I know for some people, they feel hesitant to add them because they don't want to feel like they're, throwing them into some type of click or what's the word I'm looking for. But anyways, it's so important for that third-party validation for support and belief. They need to see other people having good experiences. They need to see product information. They need to see things like that regularly, because otherwise, if it's just themselves and you, then you're missing out on so much opportunity for them to really understand and fall in love with these products and the potential of what they have to do for them. And we all know that it's a slow process for many in the beginning before they really gain their own experience. And so plugging them into other people's experiences and the science behind it and all that is so critical. So that is an absolute must. So I not only add them to the team page, but tag them in 2 or 3 posts right away and let them know. That's going to be so helpful to you. Make sure you save that graphic on your phone, and make sure you check out that video before your products arrive. And then next step is to send starter videos. I actually prefer to just tag them in that video in the group, because my goal is to bring them back to that group as much as possible. Because if they are never engaging on there, then they'll stop seeing any type of notifications. But if every once in a while you're tagging them in there, then it brings them back to it. And you never know when they may just start surfing around and find a testimonial that just totally hits them in the heart and makes them think of their sister who has neuropathy from diabetes, and she can't, she wants to share that story with her, whatever. And for themselves to build that belief. So very important that you're setting them up well for success depending on what they ordered. And then invite them to post when their products arrive. Even if they said no originally, then you've got to just keep putting the invitation out there, and don't make it uncomfortable. Just make it about, you know what, it doesn't matter. If you don't want a business out of this, that's fine. But your success rate on your health journey goes way up when you have a couple accountability partners. And you never know who may want to do this with you. It makes it way more fun. And how cool would it be to earn a little bit towards your products every month, right? So just put it out there. Don't let it be awkward, and say it's totally okay if you're not comfortable with it, but I just want you to know the benefits of it. And it's so simple. I'll even send it to you, just copy and paste. throw it up there with a picture and you're good to go. I promise I'll help you. If anyone comments or likes, I'll help you with the next step. So make it easy for them and just don't let it be awkward or uncomfortable. Invite them to the next challenge and offer to help them with samples. So I know for Megan's team and for mine, now we have a 3-day experience about every other week. So there's always a 3-day experience coming up soon. And you definitely, like, once you get them in that group and they're tagged on a few posts and they have a good starting regimen and they're excited, then inviting them. And I actually tell them, guess what? Because of your order, you qualify to be added into this 3-day experience. And it's such a great, easy way to just hear other people's experiences, learn more about other products that maybe you're not taking or whatever, and ask questions, fun things like that. And it's set, and also just throw it out there. That's also a really great place for you to invite your friends and family to sample and see what you're doing, learn more about it, so they don't, so they don't think you're gone after the cuckoo nest or whatever. Help them with samples. So I love the suggestion of saying, hey, who are the first 3 people that come to mind that you think might want to try this with you? I'll be happy to throw a stick of Slim in the mail for them. Or if they're interested in that, just offer them the chance to try 4 of our best-selling products for all 3 days for only $20, because usually they'll choose that option anyways. Next step is product regimen. Just make sure that they understand like how to start their products, that there's lots of communication, and that then celebrate every single win. To me, I tell them, like, before their products even arrive, I tell them that die-off is very possible and that it's something that, we need lots of communication. It's something that that I can help guide them through if it does come, but understand that die-off is a win. And die-off is something that you should celebrate, because that means that your body is eliminating toxins and you're one step closer in that healing process. So celebrate the wins, whether it be like they pooped a huge poop for the first time in 3 weeks, or whether they slept through the night, or whatever it is, make a huge deal out of it. And then say, that is so exciting, Brooke. I bet you have tons of friends who would love to sleep through the night like that. What would it hurt if you just threw that up on Facebook or Instagram and then tagged me in it? What do you think? So just keep throwing out those invites and don't allow it to be uncomfortable or awkward. All right, so other recommendations to help them learn and grow through their experience. It's going to be different based on whether they're sharing or whether they're just product users, obviously. But your team probably has some good resources in your team page for that. I think the main important part that we remember is to keep it simple and not allow them to feel overwhelmed as we're like progressing them through the steps. So, okay, now we're just gonna go through those key points at the bottom of the worksheet. So Megan, you wanna take that first one?
Yeah.
Oh, I already just said that, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was gonna say really quickly, like, do you guys remember that little like category sheet that Brooke Hemingway made, where basically you're categorizing people based on their answer to your question about sharing? You're going to basically mentally categorize them either as a silver in 7, a silver in a month, or a casual product user that you'd hope that maybe you can help them get one person started. So I just want to have you have that visual in the back of your mind. If you're not familiar with that graphic, I'm sure Whitney could get it for her team, and it's already on our team page. So ask if you need to
Are you seeing the red, green, and yellow one, right?
Yeah. And so it's just more of like an idea to have in the back of your mind of how you're going to categorize someone based on their answers to you. And also in terms of resource pages, the first point is just to protect people from too much information and overwhelm and only adding to one group at first. I just want to put a plug for the fact that I went silver because of a team page. because I was added to that resource page and I was, being, exposed to, hey, grab 3 people, power of 3, hey, $100 bonus. So I always just say, hey, I don't even ask permission for them. I just say, hey, I'm adding you to our resource page. It's full of great information. You can search in the search bar. Basically any topic and any question has already been asked, and you can check that out. And I just figure if they don't like to be in there, they can remove themselves. So sometimes people have like a mental hang up about adding their ambassadors to a team page, but it is really important and to protect them from overwhelm with that.
Okay. Awesome. So next step. Yeah. So here's one that we've definitely experienced ourselves. I know for my leadership is too many team pages can be completely like it can be more detrimental than helpful. Okay. So let's try to have like, your main go-to support group. For ours, we have an information, product, and testimonial group that's for everyone, and then anyone that shares at any level. And this is my personal, the way I sort people is if they're willing to do a shout out post when they first place that order, then that shows me that they're open to the opportunity to learn about sharing, even if they're just open to the possibility of checking it out. So that would be a fit for, the team page as well. But just don't throw them in both all at once. Just like get them comfortable and tagged on the few basics in one, and then say, okay, so, here's another resource that you could really benefit from, as you're just putting it out there and seeing if you have anyone that could be interested. Here's an option. And if it's overwhelming to you, you can always remove yourself. So that's important. And then just baby steps are key. Give one task before adding another. And I know Megan pointed that out as she's going through, especially when you're giving them step-by-step instructions on, sharing in the beginning. So one task before adding another. Big mistake to give them 3 steps at a time, because it shuts them down and they're like, ooh, I didn't sign up for this. I don't have time to even sit down and eat a meal rather than, let alone sit down and write up a list of 20 people and do this and this all within the next 10 minutes or whatever. So, all right.
Yeah. And then the next point is just as much as possible, meet up with people in person if they're interested in the business. So I don't know if you guys do a lot of in-person stuff, but I find that the people that do have really good retention. My husband is a great example at this, where he will really work to meet people in person because I think it adds that extra level of relationship. It adds the extra level of back and forth where you're able to find out what their why is, find out what their pain points are, find out what this opportunity can mean for your family. And the way that you help someone start is how it's going to be duplicated down on your team as well. I know that I've had a lot of scarcity around my time. And so I'll just be completely honest with you guys, is that not necessarily something that I've practiced really, really well, but it's something that I've seen work when I do it, or even existing ambassadors on my team, when I go to them and say, hey, let's meet up at the coffee shop, let's go out for lunch, let's spend some IPA time together and do this. It helps so much. So I just wanted to emphasize that. And the goal is to get them started right away, right?
Yeah.
If they're starting for the business, we want to help them kickstart that. And so acting with urgency and quickness is super important in the very beginning.
And I wanted to just point out too that the next best thing, if in person is not possible, whether they're not like in, your vicinity that's realistic, or even if they are, but like your schedules just don't align, a Zoom meetup or FaceTime is the second best thing. And that's way more, there's a lot more personal connection there than even just on a phone call.
Well, and we're all leading busy lives, and I know that there's people that work full time up until jewel level in Plexus. And so I know a lot of people have built their businesses on their lunch breaks and their commute back and forth, and they chat and have coaching calls in the car with people. And I know Melinda's on here. She's a teacher. And so she does a lot of Marco Polo. So if you do not have that app, she does that with even her wholesale people, because it gives that face-to-face connection and interaction, be able to touch base and see how their products are going. And then lastly, with business builders, making sure that you're helping them have good success on the products also, not just always chatting business, I think is important as well. So we're going to transition. Do you have anything else you want to say on that, Whitney?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Well, I know we kind of chatted about this at Super Saturday, but making welcome pack recommendations, we're going to just blitz through it really quickly, because I think it's important to know how to recommend things. And so in order to recommend things, I will say the biggest thing you have to know from people is their pain points. If you're not sure what their pain points are, you cannot make a recommendation, and you cannot give them any prices either. So there's a John Maxwell quote that says, good leaders ask great questions. I think it's the title of a book, actually. And so the more questions that you ask, the more clarity that you're going to have to be able to understand and know what welcome pack to recommend for them. And there's actually a sheet of paper. Maybe we should be going through that first. Well, no, we'll go through this. We'll go through welcome packs first, but you have to be asking questions. So my top 3 questions that I ask people when I'm chatting with them is, do you have any bathroom issues? Do you have any chronic pain? Are you on any meds? And what's my third one? How
do you poop?
Bathroom trouble.
Oh, bathroom. You said bathroom already.
Bathroom issues. Are you on any meds? Do you have any chronic pain? What's the third one? Where's the third one? I can't remember it right now.
Right here.
Oh, what are your health goals? There we go. What are your health goals? And this is something that we learned at Brooks Retreat, is like, ask them pointed questions. Like, what health challenges are you having right now, and how does that impact your life? Another question that is okay to ask if they're a woman is, do you have any period issues? Do you struggle with PMS, anything like that? So the more questions that you ask that are probing, and even like, how does that impact your daily life? And finding out from them how you can help them live their best life, right? Let me see if I can find really quickly some verbiage that we've been using that I feel like has been really helpful. Let me look it up really quick. Okay, so this would maybe be when you're following up with someone that in your tap rooting. So it's like your person's person. Hey Heather, it's Megan Goff. I am the gal that helped Alicia get started on Plexus to help her health. I just wanted to learn more about you and your dreams and aspirations. If you could help me, I'm trying to learn how to serve people better, not only from my, I wouldn't probably say medical perspective, but just learning how to better serve people. What things limit your best life now? Is it physical health, mental, depression, anxiety? What would your life look like if these things were gone? Would you be taking more trips? Would you be playing more with your kids? I'd love to know. I would like to dream with you. So I've been using that wording some, and I know my friend Tammy has been a lot, and it's working. So I think sometimes meeting people more on like a personal, emotional level, and like digging deep, not just surface asking like, okay, what are your health goals? But asking, like figuring out what their pain points are so you can better serve them, I think is super important. But one thing that I thought it was really interesting, I did Super Saturday with Carissa Casey, and she actually kind of did her own thing on the product recommendations, and she broke the products down into 4 subcategories. And I thought this was really helpful. This handout actually goes into a little bit more detail, but just for the sake of generalization, I thought it was helpful that she categorized it into beauty, active living, gut health, and weight loss. And so I always start with a bigger pack. The bulk pack is more bang for your buck. It's a win for them. It's a win for us. In every way, they get a more comprehensive experience using Plexus. They can share it with their family. And so I think it's important to ask them specific questions like, hey, are you a shake user? Do you like, do you take capsules okay? Are you caffeine sensitive? Asking pointed questions like that are really important. But I think that it's, if you look at that handout, I think it's helpful because it categorizes for weight loss, the top 2 packs for that. For skincare, there's 3 of them. For pregnancy and parenthood, Family Essentials pack, hands down. That one's awesome. The variety pack for general health and well-being. But it takes asking questions before you'll know what people need. Autoimmune issues, variety pack, I think because it has the E's in it with triplex. The active lifestyle would be the variety or the Renew You pack. Husband and wife combo. I think this one's significant to highlight because one of them can get the Family Essentials welcome pack, and then the other one enrolls under the other with the variety pack or the healthy weight advantage pack. So it's the best of both worlds because they get welcome pack prices, plus they get a bonus, which I tried to help one of my girls do that in December. She's like, oh, it's cheap. It was actually cheaper to order it through my own account. I was like, not if you include the bonus. I mean, I just said, oh, that's interesting. Even if you include the bonuses and the fact that the welcome pack price is like heavily discounted even from Ambassador. So it is worth them signing up under, the other one, in my opinion. So, okay, the second page to this is helpful questions to ask when choosing the right pack. Oh, here we go. We already kind of went through this, but do you enjoy meal replacement shakes? Are you sensitive to caffeine? Do you drink anything caffeinated daily? So asking pointed questions like that, it's best if you're on the phone, honestly, because this will be kind of tricky to ask if you're just messaging back and forth in Messenger. And then things to learn about a person. Do they have any chronic health issues? How is that impacting their daily life? Do they struggle to swallow capsules? Period, PMS issues? What are their health desires, challenges, or goals? What are their eating habits like? Okay, that's something that we didn't talk about. Eating habits and daily water intake, because those are 2 pieces of the puzzle. I would also add exercise in there also. Those are like, if there's a magic pill to people's health, it goes back to what people are eating and how they're moving their body every day. Yes, supplements are a huge, huge, huge piece of that, but that alone doesn't always mean that they're going to see themselves overcome health issues, the health issues, or meet their goals if you're not also talking to them about these other things. And I've been a lot more intentional about getting on the phone with people and just saying, hey, what's your exercise habits like? What are your eating habits like? Is there anything you feel like you could change about those things? And then when I follow up with them, we're chatting about those things. So we already kind of talked about additional tips, or talks about starting with the $1.99 pack recommendation. I would just encourage all of you, if you're operating out of scarcity, thinking, oh, you're assuming that people can't afford that, you need to evaluate your mindset, because that's not the case. A lot of people are spending a lot of money on health coaching, health courses, supplements, and things like that. And I would rather that they spend it with me, not at the health food store or through someone else. Plexus products are honestly the ones that are going to address the root issues for them. And I feel like with my input, they're going to have the best experience. And so I would just encourage you guys, if you're feeling like you have scarcity around recommending those packs, change your mindset on that, because it's honestly the best deal for them. I wish they would have had that when I started. It would have been a better deal for me to order the Family Essentials pack when I started.
And they're going to have a better experience way faster. They're going to notice results faster. They're going to be like a believer much better if they're starting with more products.
Exactly. And something else I'll just highlight really quick is I talk about cost, like as they're getting signed up. A lot of times people's first question is, well, how much does it cost? I don't ever talk about that because, one, I have no idea what they need. And number two, I don't know if they're starting as a preferred customer, if we're starting as an ambassador. I literally do not know. So I have to add more value. I have to create more need. I have to help them see how these products could benefit their life. And by the time we're talking about price, they're already sold. So in the times that I have prematurely shared prices with people, it scares them off because I have not shown them how it could benefit their life. And then I'd like the question to ask them very pointed questions because it's important that you move people through your funnel quickly and not get a constipated funnel where you're just like in this little vortex of going round and around with questions, or like, hey, inviting them to the next little Blitzy event that you're hosting. You have to make sure you're asking the question, are you ready to get started? That's a classic follow-up line that I use all the time. Hey, I'm helping people get started tonight. Are you ready? I know we've chatted about Plexus on and off for 5 years. Are you ready now? So, and then Brooke likes this wording. Does this sound like something you'd like to do? Just asking, are you ready? Does this sound like something you'd like to do? Do you have anything?
Can I just ask you, Megan, right there, because I think probably everyone's thinking it. When they do ask you, well, how much does it cost? And you say, well, I don't even go into that right there. Like, I add value. So how do you segue into that? Because I know a lot of them are thinking, okay, well, how do you respond? You can't just ignore them when they say that and respond in a different way. So can you just give them some wording or ideas there?
Oh, yeah. So if someone's just like, well, what's the cost? I typically say, well, it depends on which combo you purchase. So tell me a little bit more about your health struggles and how that impacts your daily life. So I guess I transition it by just saying the obvious. Like I literally do not know how much it costs for you because I don't know what your health goals are. It really depends on which pack you order.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I say, well, it really depends on what we decide the products are that you'll most benefit from and how you choose to order. So let's figure that out. So that's how you can easily like move on and add value without acting like you're uncomfortable with that question or you're avoiding it. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Melinda, that thread was the Goal Pushers 2020. I don't even know who created that thread. Somehow I'm in it and there's different people in it. So that's where that verbiage was shared. Okay, now we're going to go over page 3, which is the initial product startup. So these are questions that you want to be asking people when they start. So you just say, hey, as you're starting the products, let me know a few more things about you. So number 1, how's your water intake? And I ask them specifically because some people think if they drink a glass of water like this every day, that's their good water intake because it's actually more than they normally drink, right? Or they're drinking sodas and Red Bulls and coffee and Starbucks fancy drinks and counting that as their liquid intake, which is not the same as water intake. So dehydration is like a very prevalent America health issue and causes a whole bunch of things. Like just hydrating your body means your skin looks better, your digestion is better, constipation starts to dissipate, things like that. So asking them specific, like to qualify or quantitatively tell you how much water they're drinking and start to track it. If they currently do not know, encourage them to get some sort of like water bottle that they can take with them to work or, put a rubber band on it so they are tracking every day how much they're drinking. Number 2 is, do you take any medications? Do you have any chronic pain? Anyone on meds, you need to know, because if they're on any sort of heart medications and you're not going to be recommending any of the thermogenic supplements. Also, if they're on thyroid medications, they'll have to make sure that they space their products, which honestly, anyone that's on medications should know that they need to consider spacing them out. I mean, surely people that are on meds know that, but you as the person helping them get started on supplements should be double checking with them. Number 3 is asking them about their bathroom habits and specifically. So do you struggle with constipation? Are you regular? And specify, like regular means if there's 3 cars going into the garage, there's 3 cars coming out every day. So if they're eating 3 meals a day, they need to be going to the bathroom between 1 and 3 times a day. A lot of people think normal is like once a week. I mean, that's their norm, but that is not healthy and it's not normal. Too frequent, obviously, more than 4 times a day. Asking specific questions like that helps you know how to help them start the products. And then number 4 is, do you crave a lot of sugar, carbs, or unhealthy foods, even salty foods? So asking them that based on their answers, then you will help them know how to start their products. And do you guys all have some sort of graphic for starting products? I'm just going to show this one really quick. This is the one that Amy on our team, she's made so many of these based on different welcome packs. But these getting started guides are so awesome. And Whitney, if you need any of these, they're all uploaded into my team page, but they're fabulous because they basically give a little graphic for how to get started. And these are great to pair with, you know, Brooke Hemingway's Weed, Seed, Feed, and Protect video, or, you know, her little video on getting started, or you can make your own basic, you know, getting started on the products video, or tag them in the team page on the new ambassador, you know, welcome video where it describes that. So basically, if they're constipated, they need to start with BioCleanse. That's what I usually have people do. If they're regular, then they just need to start normally, like 2 BioCleanse and 1 ProBio 5. If it's too frequent, then I don't have them start a lot of BioCleanse, maybe not even anything at the beginning. We just do a lot of ProBio 5 in their first week. One a night usually is where I have them start. So, and I just reiterate to them, like, these are not medications. This is not magic. These are highly tweakable supplements that you can use with what your body is telling you. So, and also with your lifestyle. So if, for me personally, if I have to take multiple things throughout the day, I forget. So I take in the morning, you know, Slim and my multivitamin and my Omega. And then before I go to bed, I have it at my nightstand, my ProBio 5 and BioCleanse. So yes, so there's that. Do you want to chime anything in, Whitney?
Not particularly on this point, but I did recommend, I wish I would have done it when you were highlighting the wax, because I just had this thought. I think, you know, too much is, or less is more. You guys know that concept. And how many of us are moms here? When we have a toddler and we open up the closet doors and we say we want to wear, a lot of times we'll end up with like a meltdown. Versus you pull out 2 outfits and say, what do you wear today? This one or this one? The same concept with making recommendations with welcome pack, or even for customers, is, you know, asking all those questions. You should have, like, I love how Carissa broke it down into 4 categories: welcome packs or combos, beauty, active lifestyle, general health and well-being, and weight loss. So what I recommend is pick your favorite $1.99 welcome pack in each one of those categories. And then what I do is, once we determine like what their goals are and which, you know, which of those categories they fall into, is say, well, this is the combo that I believe you would most benefit from, and there's a huge discount on it. So, or you could give them the option of 2, but don't ever be like, okay, well, there's 16 different welcome packs that we can look at. Do you want to take a look at these and see which one you think would be best for you? Because that's going to shut them down and scare them away. So just keep that in mind. I kind of hate that there's so many options, because I think it'd be so much better if there were really like 4 or 6. But since they're giving us so many options, let's be wise and just pick our favorite ones of those options, and then don't overwhelm people. We know more than they do, and so make the best recommendation for them, or this could be another option too, but don't ever give them more than 2 choices. So that's, and make sure they're the $1.99 welcome packs. Always start there, and then slide down the mountain if they can't do that. Well, the next best thing at the $99 price would be this one. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I missed the opportunity while you were covering the welcome packs.
Yeah, no, I really agree. Thank you for bringing that up, because we're the professional in this instance. And so to us telling them our top recommendation, like, that's what I need. I don't have time if it's a different company or different products. I just want them to tell me, okay, what do you think I need? Okay, perfect. I'm in, I'll do that, you know? And I only give 2 options typically. And also, I don't ever discount someone and just say, oh, they're, you know, I hear people all the time saying, oh, well, they can't afford it. I'm like, well, they can afford it if they prioritize it. And if someone legit can't do the 99 pack or the 199 pack, then I help them start on one product as a preferred customer, because every single person on the face of the earth, in my opinion, can afford ProBio 5 or X Factor. So I think that's important. And then it talks about other products to consider. I think it's super important when you're chatting with people to be referencing other things, because then down the road, if they're like, well, you know, this, and this has changed and it's better, but I'm still struggling with my inflammation. And then you can say, hey, well, remember when we talked about adding and loading doses of Ease, maybe on month 2 or 3, maybe now's a good time to do that. So if you have kind of already upsold, like when you first are talking to people, then they don't feel like when they're on their way out the door, or if something's not going quite right, they don't feel like you're just trying to get them on more products. You know what I mean? Because you already said, hey, at some point we may need to add in X Factor, because anyone with thyroid issues needs to have that multivitamin in their life. You know, same with MetaBurn or Balance or Mega X. And then it just says on the bottom of that page, anyone with heart conditions shouldn't be on a thermogenic, and neither should pregnant people. So hopefully we all know that. All right.
We should also add in too, I think it's important to add in too, Megan, that if someone's on an antidepressant, that the MetaBurn could be issue with the H2 in there. So just make sure that they understand that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's important. I should probably have specified that in the medications part, is ask if they say yes, they're on well, typically they'll tell you if they're on an antidepressant, but that should be like a little bell going off for you about being careful not to overdose or, you know, where they have what is that called? Like a serotonin spike, where there's too much of that.
Serotonin overdose.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is following up, which Whitney's going to take.
Okay, so follow-up is where the magic happens. Have you guys heard that? The fortunes and it is true. Whether the people that you're supporting are just, you know, a customer on one product, or they are, you know, a wholesale ambassador, or they're going all in with the business. This is where we give them the experience that makes Plexus so and makes them want to stay here for good. So follow-up is key, and it starts at now. How many times have you heard, like, people, how does that go? I'm not going to remember how it's worded. I can't hear what you're saying because your actions or does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'm butchering. People do, or the actions speak better than your words. Just say it that way. So what they experience with you is typically what they're going to repeat. So that's why you want to model for them what we talked about, like getting an ambassador and sign on the phone versus through sending them night and day in the experience they're going to have, that for them. Make sure you're inviting them to share on that phone call, because what is a lot more effective than what you tell them to do, which may be different than what them, and that just sends the wrong message. So set communication expectations and let them know that you're there to support them and help them get the best they can. I typically tell them, expect a lot of communication. You know, the first couple months, I'm going to need a lot of communication from you to make sure that you have the best possible. Everybody's a little, and sometimes it takes a little tweaking till we figure out what is the best regimen for your body. And so, you know, can I ask for that a commitment from you that you're checking in regularly and responding when there is no one right method of split follow-up, just as long as you have something you're using. For me, I should have brought it out here to show, but it's just a little date book. I have a separate little date book where I just jot their name. The day that they sign up, I'll put their name in that box, and then, you know, on day 3, I'll write their name with a number 3 on through. I like to even mark the first days, even if it's just tagging them in a post on page or that information page, just to keep them engaged for that 90 days, because it's at that point that we tell them. And something I started doing now, is when someone's getting started, and I got this idea from Erin, who was my amazing assistant, who got smart. I think, oh, yep, she's on this call. And she decided to build her own dreams instead of help me with mine. So she's rocking an awesome business now, and we're so excited for her. But she had this great idea because she would hear through what we were doing with people all the time that, it's after 90 days that deeper healing begins. And that's when you really start to see the changes happening. So she said, so why don't you tell people when they're signing up, you want them to get out their calendar and circle 90 days from today. And we're going to have a big celebration on that 90-day mark of them being consistent because they've hit that level of deeper healing. And so you want them to be looking forward to that and understanding that they're not supposed to expect huge changes until they've hit day 90, and that's where it really begins. So just setting up the expectations for them, letting them know that communication is so key and that you're a partner in this to making sure that they have a great experience. It's just night and day in whether they're still going to be here 3 months from now, 9 months from now, or not. So just pick a way to track follow-up, whether it is electronic, it is on paper, whether it's index cards in a little box, whatever it is, just make sure you find something that works for you that you'll stick with. So recommended is that you follow up on day 3, 7, 14, 22, and then 2 days before their subscription runs. Those are just the must days. Erin helped me come up, and I'll share this with you, Megan, for your team if you guys would like it. But Erin actually wrote out a full 90-day support system of follow-up. This doesn't follow the guidelines to fit on one page, but it's something that you would save in your notes on phone, and it will say specifically day 1, here's a base of what you can send. And of course you can personalize it, but the concept of it is to keep them engaged. And even if one day it's just tag them in a testimonial, the team page or whatever. So just make sure it's getting done. And if you're like me, if you don't have it written out and scheduled, it's not going to happen. So just make sure that you're making it a priority. So it gives them suggestions here what to ask. It's always so important when you're asking them questions that you are leading with a tone of confidence and excitement, and that you're expected to have a great experience, because they sense your tone. They sense the emotions behind it. If you come at them so how are you feeling today? Are you constipated? And then, they're expecting the negatives. So when you come to them with confidence, what are you loving? Oh my gosh, tell me what you're experiencing so far that you're excited about. What have you missed so far that you love, whatever. Just make sure you're leading off with that, and then asking those that Megan's already covered a couple times. We keep coming back to how much water, how are your cravings, how are you pooping, your energy like, are you sleeping well? So these are ones that we're adding on now that they're move on the products, because these are changes we want them to be aware of, that they could be watching for, because a lot of times how many of us have had things happen where you heard a testimony from someone else, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I used to have that. I didn't even realize that I haven't had that forever. Has that happened to anyone here? Because I know it's happened to me. Major stinky pit sweat. I used to have that, and I didn't even realize that was something that it just gradually went away over time. And I was saw someone post a testimony. I was like, oh my gosh, I used to hadn't even realize it. So pointing out things that they could be watching for and that you're expecting, to improve for them, then that's really, really impactful. So obviously you don't send them a list of 10 questions at a time, because again, we don't want to scare people who are busy, and we want to keep this a really simple, basic conversation that just flows naturally. We don't want them to feel like every time we reach out to them, they have to sit down and take 5 minutes to answer a novel. But we're just their friends, we're supporting, and we're doing so casually. The success checklist is consistently wins. Whatever, like I said, die off is a win. Tell them, and I tell them when they're pooping a lot in the beginning, because a lot of times when they first start, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm using the bathroom so much more. That's awesome. Celebrate every single flush. Those are toxins eliminating out of your body, and that is the fastest and most effective way for your body to eliminate toxins. So celebrate every flush. Redirect negativity. So when they're coming at you like, I don't think a thing, then use the feel felt. That's always the best approach. Like, I understand you got to feel frustrated. I remember when I hit this plateau and I was like, is this really working for me? But, luckily so-and-so experienced with me and whatever, and I stuck with it. And then 2 weeks later, I had this huge breakthrough or whatever. So always don't completely ignore or shut down their concerns, but direct to the positive. Constant fight them kind of being about it, but we can do it often in a way that and not awkward. When we're just like, oh my gosh, Lisa, seriously, you've had so many awesome things happen already. I know people that's that. Are you sure you can't throw up a post on Facebook? Because it would be so fun if you had some friends doing this with you. It's fine. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't act awkward about it, and you can do it consistently. And you never know when they might be ready. So activate community and events. So making sure that, especially in the beginning, they're experiencing those added resources that give third-party validation, which is huge, and which show them a system that they can easily plug people into if they choose to. And even if they tell you, they're not interested, they get into that 3-day experience and they're kind of thinking, you know what, I bet my sister would probably want to hear some of this stuff. So you never know what could happen. Or just for their own good, things that they'll hear that will build their belief as well. Community is huge. So if you can do in-person, sip and sees, or even if that's not possible, I like to do one-on-one Zooms. Face-to-face, hearing people's voices, hearing other people's stories, it gets people to stay. It makes them fall in love with the extra special touch that Plexus has. You can't really get that if they're not seeing that community. Get them to a Plexus event ASAP, whenever possible. That will explode their vision and help them understand. Consider different product recommendations, if you need to tweak things or move things around, but make sure that in the beginning you're setting up those expectations, like we said, so it's not a big deal if all of a sudden you're like, the MetaBurn doesn't seem to be the best fit for you, so do this instead. They're not just going to feel like you're trying to sell them on another product and Plexus doesn't really work. You know what I mean? Expect the best, prepare for the worst. Detox. And I don't like to get detox as a bad thing. I like to set them up for the expectations that detox is a good thing, but it's uncomfortable and it's something that we can work around and make sure that they're comfortable, but recognize it as a win. So just keep that in mind. After 7 days, ask the right questions, make adjustments as suggested. And then again, we go back to water, we go back to cravings, energy, poop, kind of the same things over and over again. Are they bloated? But do you see how it's the consistency? Because we're expecting changes to happen in their body. So even though maybe they weren't constipated 7 days ago, maybe now they're constipated. So it's important to keep bringing those key questions up. Recommendations for common bathroom issues after 7 days. They're constipated, if they're regular, if they're too frequent, then it tells you what to do there. and I know you guys have the handouts, so I don't need to read the whole thing for you, but sugar cravings. So this one is a big deal. And since I have such a personal experience with this one, and always throw in your own personal experiences when you're supporting people, you know, I just realized I have no clue what time it is. Oh, should we hurry and do I need to speed up, Megan?
What is that sound? Sorry about that.
Is it on my end?
I'm not.
I don't.
He's by muting.
Do you hear it, Kate? Just nod yes.
Yeah. Are you shuffling papers around? It sounds like somebody's shuffling papers over their speaker.
Oh, I was for a second, but not like constantly. Can you hear it now?
I think we're good. I just remuted everyone.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right, gotcha. Are we good on time, Megan, or do I need to speed through this?
We probably need to wrap it up, especially if we're going to let them ask any questions. Actually, maybe
okay.
Have some questions. Drop them in the comments real quick.
Great idea. Okay, so you guys have the handouts. You can read the rest of it, but just make sure, most important thing is that you're following up consistently, you're leading with positivity, and you are lots of communication, okay? And yeah, there's lots of suggestions here. You guys can read them yourself. And remember, three-way chats are great for huge. If you have someone that's getting frustrated or they're really struggling with die-off, sometimes just adding that third person for validation is so powerful to, like, you know, bring them back down and, like, you know, help them comment and edit. You know, maybe a little helpful suggestion. Sometimes we can say the same thing as someone else, but they'll hear it differently coming from someone else. Encouragement, ideas, it's also helpful. So that's it. So I did want to throw in here too that the 3-day experience, we had this conversation yesterday, some of my leaders and I just wanted to throw this out there, that if you have a system that's working well already, stick with it. Don't feel like you have to go readjust everything just because we've got these ideas for you, okay? And the 3-day experiences can be a complete system all in itself. Like, you can consistently be adding people to that who are also adding their friends to that if you're using the suggestions that Jennifer Leith gave us and that are working so well for her. And then so you're consistently not only bringing on ambassadors every month if you're utilizing those 3-day experiences as well, but you're helping them go silver. And that's such a simple process that it just kind of can duplicate down really easily. So I wanted to point out that that in itself is a system that's very effective. So if you're already rocking, keep rocking. If you need fresh new ideas, here's some great suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are 2 other systems that I uploaded to my team page, which I think are for people that are at the Jewel level or above, people that are hosting their own sampling challenges, or people that are leaders that are hosting their own IPA challenges. So it's just written out on one page so you can make sure as you are creating those that you have all your bases covered, or if you need ideas. Sometimes I feel like, what am I forgetting? So if you have a little checklist of like, oh yeah, I forgot to include this or that, you can make sure you have your bases covered. But do not look at that if you're not someone that hosts IPA challenges for your team. You know, to me, in my opinion, until you have your own personal team page or your Emerald or above, utilize what your upline does or your sideline or whatever in light of IPA challenges and in light of 3-day sampling blitzes. So, okay, I'm willing to stay on for 5 more minutes to answer some live questions, because I think sometimes when you're processing and you're hearing stuff and you're like wanting to ask a question, but there's no space to do that. So what questions do you guys have for us? We're open books, really. No question is weird. And if you need to go, feel free to leave. It's not you don't have to stay on here just because we are. What questions? Y'all are pros, huh?
Throw them at us.
Sometimes it helps just to have a space to chat through the things, you know, just to make sure.
Yeah.
I like to be a collector of information just to make sure I'm hitting all the bases on all the things. And sometimes it's just confirmation that you're doing all the things correctly, you know?
I'm not seeing any questions. It's more just comments in the chat.
I have someone who is in the 3-day challenge, and I asked them if they are ready to go for more, and she said she probably doesn't want the shakes because she has isogenic shakes, and she doesn't love the slim hunger control, which is what she's trying. So I suggested that she try adding active to her slim, see if she liked the flavor better that way. But as far as welcome packs, I'm trying to find one maybe that didn't have the shakes in it, or her issues are mainly overall gut health. She's had some migraines in the past. Weight is a goal of hers, but I don't know. I guess I was just asking if you have suggestions on a welcome pack for that.
Do you know what? Until we have a customizable welcome pack, which we keep being told is in the works, but it's a really good system for our IT team to come up with. There's never going to be a perfect welcome pack for everyone, unfortunately. And what I do, I'm not going to say that everyone should do this, but I trade people out all the time. Even if I have to stick something in the mail, I'm willing to do that for them to have a great experience. And if it will keep them, if it will make the difference of them getting a $199 pack versus a $99 pack, I will always $199 welcome pack and swap them out products. So maybe you can swap her, you know, even if she's not local. I think it's worth it to throw something in the mail. Yeah. And have them tell you something back.
What is the top priority for her health? Because that, like, if it's to get rid of the migraines, then that to me is going to be something different than if weight loss is her overarching goal.
Right.
I need to talk to her some more because she was having migraines 6 months ago, but I think she stopped getting them, or maybe not as often. I think her overall goal is health and losing weight. And she hasn't tried the microbiome slim, so I was thinking a welcome pack with microbiome would be good. And she husband, maybe he might like the slim. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Or, I mean, how many people do we know that didn't like the taste of slim when they first started? And maybe just pointing out that, you know what, your taste buds will actually change as your body heals, because really the way that one person tastes slim is going to be so different from another because of the acidic levels in their body. Like, it actually makes a difference in how things taste to them. So I know some people that when they first tried the slim, they were like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet, or oh, it's so bitter, or oh, it tastes so sour. But then once their body balanced out, they love it. So make sure that she understands that and encourage her to just keep at it. Squeeze in some fresh lemon, try some, really good natural juice or something that's going to really change the flavor without really, just a touch, without trying to change the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, I'll try that with her. She didn't say she hated it. She just said, I'm not sure if I like it so much. So,
and what I found is really effective too, is I'll say, you know what, to be honest with you, if this stuff tasted like gasoline, I would drink it every day for the benefits it's given me in my health. Like, it's been life-changing for me. And we're not drinking it for a tasty drink, to be honest, when it comes down to it, maybe just in her head where okay, well, maybe I can learn to appreciate it just because of the health benefits, or try some different ways to make it tasty.
I do the same thing. Sometimes it's just like getting it in people's head to kind of flip the script a little bit and offer a different perspective. So I just say, hey, I've drank so many disgusting green chunky drinks in the name of health because I knew it was healthy for me. And so to chug something that's a little sweet for my taste buds, or to have to add a little bit of lemon or ice or drink it like a shot, to me it's worth it, same as you said, because of the health benefits. So giving people some perspective. They shouldn't be wimpy. They can do it. But I mean, obviously I wouldn't tell someone that, but just offer perspective. Okay, guys, I gotta run. So thank you so much for joining this call. I hope it was helpful. Whitney, thank you so much for being on and co-hosting. It's been a blast. So we'll get this recording up so everyone can learn from it.
Thanks for jumping on, everyone. Thanks, Megan.
Bye.
Love
Bye,
this
guys.
with you.